Hey, how is everyone? Vonnie and I have just finished with the meeting with our collaboration partners at Mental Health Change. Von, how was that for a massive boost for APA?
It was a great opportunity to introduce the systems and the effective systems that are in place at the moment, and to look at creating change within those systems and create better outcomes for our peers and also for the clients, the service users, whatever you want to label people as, people
in need. And it was an amazing kind of energy in the room and a huge amount of acceptance from some senior management at NHS England to what it is that both the team at Treble One and the team at 115 are looking to achieve. What was your kind of takeaway before we go on and let people see the infographics?
Well, my takeaway is that education is definitely needed, that there is opportunities for collaboration moving forward, that there are opportunities for professionals in the world of mental health, i.e. counsellors, psychotherapists, to be able to actually be employed and actually move things forward in a way that is better for all concerned, the NHS and the public and the peers that we work with so closely.
And that in itself was phenomenal, but it wasn't the best part of the outcome from this morning, was it?
Well, no, the best part is that they will support us in relation to going off and actually achieving it in a way where we can facilitate showing exactly how it will work, what can be achieved, and hopefully lead to much bigger things.
It's a phenomenal opportunity, and it's a massive endorsement for getting a trial of the 115 solution. So for the first time, I really like being able to say the first, but for the first time, we're going to share the graphics of what a trial of 115 would look like. So bear with me while I get everything set, but let's pull this in. Here we go. It should be coming up. Can you see that now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So the trial of 115 is a patient-centric solution, and it's an absolutely phenomenal way of linking the emergency services and Treble One to qualified therapeutic professionals directly at the point of need. It's a phenomenal development of what has widely been accepted as the world's leading response, which is currently being run by the teams in New Zealand. And their system doesn't even come close to this process. So, Von, do you want to talk just through the infographic there and why that's qualified therapeutic professional at that point of need becomes so important?
Okay, having a qualified professional there at that moment is the most imperative response to somebody in crisis. Now, having Windy Dryden on board in relation to his own training of single session therapy will actually increase the opportunity for people to have that time with a qualified professional that is deemed qualified at the point of qualification, i.e. completing their diploma level 4. Putting in place their indemnity insurance, having supervision, having a DBS check that actually caters for youngsters as well as adults. Having that time with somebody can change a thought process from a suicidal thought to actually a change of direction and a change of focus. It is imperative for the sake of all concerned in an immediate moment of crisis to have immediate care by a qualified professional that is capable of helping that individual in the most appropriate way. And that is what we advocate for, because that is what will, one, help save lives, most importantly, and secondly, take a massive strain off the NHS in relation to their own resources, but also of police resources. We do not need police attending every single situation. And more importantly, because of their lack of resources at the moment, they're better placed in dealing with other situations that they are more trained to deal with. Having psychological individuals that are trained to work in an immediate moment can be profound for the person on the end of the phone. And that is where our passion lies. Our passion lies at saving lives. And it's important to recognise that there are an army of therapists out there that are qualified at 450 hours and have extensive experience and are more than qualified of working with anybody that rings a crisis helpline. That's what we need in this country. That's the change that needs to take place. And actually, I'm really proud that APA has got us this far and that we as a young company are creating such a dynamic change in the world of taking this country forward and looking after patients, service users, people in crisis that need that help. Because without that, I don't want to think about what's going to happen when the repercussions of COVID keep happening over and over and over again. We absolutely do need change, and we are an effective organisation in collaboration with others that can create that, will create that, and will lead the way in changing the outcome for people and saving the NHS an extortionate amount of money by doing it this way.
It's a phenomenal process that, as anybody looks at this infographic, I think there are going to be two things that really do stand out. The first is going to be the traffic light system to assign a qualified therapeutic professional. And the second is going to be that single session therapy. So we'll come to the traffic light system in a moment, but I wanted people to see why the benefits are there. So the current records as they've been presented by NHS and the Office of National Statistics, the ONS, they estimate that only 1% of the calls to 999 that are signposted to a therapeutic professional actually make it to that individual speaking to a therapeutic professional. This trial that APA has designed and in collaboration with Mental Health Change means 100% of those calls will be spoken to by a qualified therapeutic professional. And that means any signposting after that single session intervention becomes a lot more informed. It means that the individual that is being signposted has got more information about what it is that they need to be focusing on. It means that if there is a need for ongoing therapy, and we're working with partners at Minerva who provide that ongoing therapy and have seen massive successes in their trial in Cornwall. And I think it's something like a 76% improvement in outcomes. But when you've got a single session intervention in front of that support, it's a phenomenal collaboration for success. But also when there is an informed referral to the medical profession, if that is required, it can be a hell of a lot more accurate, because a qualified therapeutic professional is making that call rather than somebody who has done mental health first aid on a helpline. And that's one of the key factors. So do you think, Von, that when we look at what the outcomes have been And we've seen a lot of change in the world of mental health, but we haven't seen many differences. What do you think is going to be the key difference for this trial?
The key difference is actually understanding the profound impact of somebody that is qualified and capable of being there for somebody in crisis. That dynamic and that understanding of single session therapy via Windy Dryden will change everything. And from my perspective, it is about saving lives. It is about being there for people, and the profound impact of hearing somebody, noticing what they're feeling, noticing what they're thinking. There is no words for the impact of that on somebody in crisis in that moment. So when I say it's essential that we have qualified, self-aware individuals to respond to those calls, to assess those individuals, to be able to refer them, to be able to take them down a process that is backed by qualified, experienced individuals, the impact will be life-changing for millions. But it will also save the NHS millions. And that's part of what we're actually working to achieve, a twofold impact on the whole system. For people first, and secondly, the finances that will automatically be saved on the back of that.
Yeah.
For any qualified professional that knows spending 1 hour with somebody and actually talking through the impact of what they're thinking, where those thoughts lead them, and hearing them, actually hearing them, rather than passed from pillar to post to not know where they're going and end up in complete despair and feeling completely uncared for. This is the opposite process. Yeah. This is making sure that they are heard, they are listened to, they are appreciated. The impact of that value is immense. Yeah. And when we are able to implement that, that's what will make the change.
One of the things that I think is kind of really emotive in any of the conversation that we've been through this morning, and it, you know, in the wider conversation, is the word crisis, because it's very easy for systems and professionals to conjure up in their own mind what a crisis is. But for somebody who's reaching out, whatever that situation is for them, to them, that's the crisis. Whether that is deemed a crisis by anybody else surely has to become irrelevant.
Absolutely. Somebody can have an anxiety attack and that is a crisis situation for them. Somebody can have a plan to take their life. That is a crisis situation for them. It's each person's individual line, and both situations can be managed in a way where somebody that's having an anxiety attack, being taught a breathing technique and helping them calm down in the time that they spend with the professional will change the outcome of that anxiety attack. Yeah. Somebody who's heard, understood and appreciated for having a suicidal plan and getting the appropriate help in as quickly as possible will change the outcome of that person's life potentially, but most importantly as well, that stops the impact on everybody around them too. Yeah. So it is mind-blowing the impact that this can have, because it changes the whole dynamic of the public and the public service that they get. Yeah.
So just looking at the traffic light system, I did promise that we would give a bit of an overview on this, and the idea of triage has been around within the NHS since its inception, but having the traffic light system for mental health is something that is only just becoming a standard practice within the treble 1 system, but it is getting better, and it's worth kind of acknowledging that. But what APA's designed in the traffic light system is a match of professionals to the match of need. And by being clear about what the need is and matching it to the level of experience and qualification of the professional, we're able to actually make that single session therapy a really targeted and effective tool. And we saw recently the British Psychological Society publish an article that showed that in children and adolescents, single session therapy's success rate in a 14-month clinical trial was 95%. 95% success. And this is something that we know when we've seen single session therapy used for adults, the success rate is exceptionally high too. Now, we're not advocating single session therapy for everybody, but as a first point of contact, it's a massive, massive game changer, isn't it?
It is, because people hear the word single session therapy and they magically assume that single session therapy means that somebody will resolve all their issues in 1 hour. No, that's not the case. Single session therapy is about putting the best interventions in within that time. It does not exclude people from continuing into a therapeutic service for themselves and continuing to work on themselves. So it's really important when people hear single session therapy that they don't misinterpret that as single session fixes everything, because that's not what Windy Dryden's ethos is. His ethos is allowing people to recognize in that 1 hour exactly what they could change, exactly what they need to look at, and where to take that if they so choose to. Yeah. So there is a continuum of choice in relation to therapy continuing, and it's so important to acknowledge that.
And that's very much why those options in the infographic that we went through before include that aftercare, that ongoing support. And the partners at Minerva have already tried, tested, and clinically shown the outcomes of that. So what I think is going to be useful is for people to see how that traffic light system works, because it was very clear to me in the meeting today that there is a major concern when it comes to dual demand. There is a mental health need, but there is also a physical need. And within the traffic light system, that would be a red call, where emergency services have to be dispatched. And the benefit of the support system being aligned with that moment is phenomenal. And the potential to support those other agencies in that moment can make the world of difference, can't it?
It can. And you know, there's so many dynamics to this, because the truth be told, we know as professionals in the world of mental health that there is an army of professionals out there that are qualified to do this work, that are capable of doing this work. And I think it's so important that we recognise the money saved by psychological difficulties being resolved. Ironically, when you look at physical difficulties in relation to psychological difficulties, they're connected, they overlap. So actually, it's really important when you just think of somebody that attends A&E with an alcohol difficulty. Well, that alcohol difficulty is causing physical impacts on them, but actually the trauma that sits behind that, if that's looked at, if that's resolved, the amount of money saved in helping that person in a proactive, constructive way also reduces the impact of the physical implications on them, which actually takes away from the finances that are being paid out by the NHS to cater for the physical impact of somebody with an alcohol difficulty, as an example. Yeah. So it's completely connected, and it's incredibly important that psychological awareness is increased to help the understanding that they are both connected, the psychological and the physical. Yeah. Resolve one can automatically, organically resolve the other. Yeah. And understanding that is is absolutely imperative for us to move forward in a way that is constructive for the people out there and save the government and the NHS millions in the process.
Yeah. And the other two categories in there, the amber and the green, are really about making sure that that psychological support is effective at the point of need, and that the aftercare plan is agreed. And we know what the pickup rate is currently, because plans are imposed almost on an individual and not really any kind of work done at what that plan is, why it is, etc. And that single session therapy opens that door for that. Do you think that this is something that ultimately professionals are going to go, I can do that, I want to do that, let me do that?
I don't know one single individual with a therapy as the vocation of their heart and soul that wouldn't want to be involved. I really don't believe that there is anybody that would say no unless their circumstances for whatever reason didn't allow them to do that. But truth be told, the ability of every good therapist out there that has the level of self-awareness. We get into this vocation because we want to give back. We want to help without excluding, without undermining, to help that person reach the potential that the world forgot to teach them. And that, for me, is what therapy is actually about, helping people learn to really appreciate themselves for who they are when they've never been taught how to do that. And the implications of that on any good professional is just, there's nothing more rewarding than being in this vocation when you see somebody grow and develop organically through the art of therapy and self-awareness. I don't know a professional that would say, I don't want to be involved, I'm not interested, I can't do that job. When you are qualified at level 4, diploma level, you may have studied for 2 years, you may have studied for 4, you may have studied for 5. It's important to use that experience and work with the experience that you have to help others. And that, and I do say this consistently, it has to come from a place of self-awareness. It is not about fixing somebody, it's about helping them learn to change themselves. That is the power of really good therapy. Yeah. And for me, we know so many passionate therapists out there. We know therapists that get into the world of therapy as a vocation and believe in the change of mankind and how that change can impact on society around them, their family dynamics, their employment dynamics. It's so big that I'd be here for hours and hours and hours educating and sharing.
And I'd be grey by the time it was finished.
You would be. You would be. You're going grey already, but you know, I'll let you off this one.
We promised that we would let people know what was coming. We said that there was something big in the pipeline. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is it. This is the biggest thing that APA has put together, and working with mental health change, working with Minerva, this is a solution that supports the NHS and its ambition to have mental health as that point of contact in a way that it's never done before. And I want to applaud the NHS for the work that they've done and the research that they've done behind what needs to happen. I also want to applaud them for their endorsement of taking this to trial and thank them for that. But I also want to make sure, as an organisation, and I'm sure Von will sit and nod when I say this, the people, the professionals, the peers that we want to be engaged in this trial, they have to be affiliated to a voluntary register. They do not, and I repeat, they do not have to be APA affiliated. We are taking the bottlenecks off where everyone else would like them to stay. We believe in the qualified therapeutic professional being able to apply their trade, their experience, their qualification, their self-awareness. If you think that this is a system that will make a difference, then let us know. Get on board and support us to make this trial happen as quickly as possible. We cannot do this without professionals' engagement. If you are a member of the public who is looking for solutions, get behind this one if you believe that having a qualified therapeutic professional at the point of need is going to make a difference. Get behind this.
I echo every word, David, and it is so important for people to actually hear. We're not forcing anybody to join APA. What we do want is people to have opportunities and to use their qualification and their self-awareness and combine the two and make a change that makes a difference, because that's what APA's about. That's what we intend to keep on doing, and that is what we will bloody well achieve. And I say that in all honesty and sincerity.
I want to thank everyone that's taken the time to watch this debrief from this morning. I hope you guys are as excited as Siobhan and I are at what is available to come to trial. And I hope that you will get behind APA in making this happen. This is, as I said, the biggest contribution that APA has brought to the UK to date.
So as a reminder, if you want to get behind us, and we ask you to get behind us because this is for the sake of everybody, contact us, info@ayanay.co.uk. Phone us 0208 556 4984. Get in touch with us, allow us to know that we are supported in supporting you and everybody else concerned in this project. Please have a wonderful day. It was a brilliant meeting. David, let's take it to the next level.
To everybody out there, take care and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.